आज के टाइम पर लाइक देयर आर मेनी स्टूडेंट्स हु वांट टू बिल्ड अ करियर एज अ पीएम, तो उनकी अप्रोच होनी क्या चाहिए? लाइक हाउ दे एबल टू से कि ठीक है मैं प्रोडक्ट मैनेजमेंट मुझे जाना चाहिए नहीं जाना चाहिए, व्हाट टाइप ऑफ स्किल्स they should have, how much a fresher could expect a salary from the industry standard point of view, कि एज अ फ्रेशर मैं जा रहा हूँ तो मैं कितनी सैलरी एक्सपेक्ट कर सकता हूँ उसमें, हाउ वुड यू मेजर द सक्सेस ऑफ अ प्रोडक्ट, लाइक व्हाट आर द केपीआईज यू विल लुक इनटू कि ठीक है ये सारी चीजें अगर हैं तो आई थिंक कि माय प्रोडक्ट इज सक्सेसफुल। Thank you so much for being on the podcast, Career Chat with Arunya. And so let's start, like you have more than 4 years of work ex in product management. So it would be great for our students to learn directly from you. So Jatin, like why product management? आपने product management ही career क्यों choose किया? Like you can choose any other field, any other domain. Why product management?
Okay. So basically, I started like my product journey from like once after my college. I got the opportunity to interview at Sprinkler. So earlier I was in the software development domain. I did my internship in the software development domain itself, and I was like coding a lot, and I practiced a lot of data structures and algorithm. But there was a fear inside my mind that my branch, which is like manufacturing process and automation engineering, is not comfortable for this domain. And I was in the final round of Microsoft where I see a rejection, where like I see that they were asking about my branch and all, and luckily I got the chance to interview at Sprinkler for the product domain. And once I was interviewing with them, and the problem they gave me, like they gave me a problem of like how many burgers are sold in India. I was like, why they are asking this question? And when I researched about like what is the product, how does the product company work, I entered into this domain, and I was fascinated by a lot. I was like, let's give it a try. But once I joined Sprinkler, the ownership that I got, the work I do, the basically what I've been working on the development, it fascinated me a lot. It that's made me think that product management is the next field which I'm basically going to pursue for my upcoming career. So it is maybe by luck or something like that, but it is like a steep introduction, but later it converted into a passion.
Understood. So like product management is all about building a product, right? Building an idea from the scratch till the product being launched or roll out to the customers or the users, right? So I want to know more about the product management, में how you take charge or how you take ownership. Let's say if you want to build a product, right? अगर आप एकदम स्टार्टिंग से कोई प्रोडक्ट बनाने के लिए सोच रहे हो, तो आपका जो एक जर्नी होती है प्रोसेस डेवलपमेंट की, like from idea till the execution at the very end, वो क्या रहती है आपकी जो रोड मैप होता है?
Okay. So this is converted into 3 questions. First is like how does the roadmap planning work? Second is like how to ideate a product. And in the start, you told that it is always from the basic. It is like you are evolving from the certain stage. So there can be multiple types of product variants, like where you are developing a product from 0 to 1. Maybe you are scaling a product from 1 to 100. Maybe you are thinking a product which is currently -1 itself. You are in totally in the ideation stage. So this is like the 3 different types of areas to exist in product management. So what I term first, I would start with the roadmap construction. So roadmap construction is like you play with your product. You go with your day-to-day task in your product and plan what future items you are planning for. You see what impact it is going to deliver, how much customer funnels are going to be affected. You run by a lot of data. You try to analyze a lot of data and see where is actually the customer pain point coming from. Is it coming from, let's say, their payment step? Is it coming from their user step? What have been their drop reason? Why they are dropping at a particular stage? What can we make for the customer so that you learn by the data? So like, let's say if I say a customer is there in your app, which is ordering more than after 5 times. Like if they've ordered 5 times on your platform, they became your permanent customer. Then how you can make people coming from 1 order to 2 order, 2 order to 3 order, 3 order to 4 order, and so on. You build a journey out of them. So that is where a roadmap constructs, and you think of the ideas in your day-to-day and put them in a doc. So when it comes to about their roadmap planning, you put down all those ideas, prioritize the top idea which you think, and put the best bet into the overall funnel so that you can provide more very valuable insights to the customer. Second thing is like when you think out of the product, like how to ideate a product, is that you majorly go through multiple hit and trials, I would say. First is like you go and explore the competitors. Like there is no product manager who is alone in the market. There are a huge amount of product managers who are sitting in just in your next competitive company, and they might be thinking of something advanced. But try to think what they are actually doing in that domain, why they are putting out that feature, why they have spent in engineering resources, how much they have spent, and how much they are getting in return. Second is don't think of the problem statement as it is a part of the job. Try to think that how much customer would be benefited by the same. For example, a software developer person might only think that he needs to complete the task, but a product manager is a person who thinks like how it will be beneficial to the customer. If you're not solving a pain point, getting an adoption to that feature is a very quite difficult thing. You need to spend a lot of money. You need to burn a lot of money. So try to think of the problem statement that is with you. Third is in product management, we always say that you should go for by putting yourself in the customer's shoe. Try to think that if you would have been the customer, what is going to be your ideology? Would you find this step particular to be useful for you? What is something more useful that can come in your mind so that you also get adapted to it? And try to ignore that you are currently in the job and what are the limitations and how to tackle those challenges. Try to think of like how it is going to be the overall picture and what actually I want for. Ignore what can be developed and what cannot be developed. Just go for it and think what I would be benefited with. Conduct customer interviews. In let's say currently I'm in a B2C company. What we used to do is we ask the customer directly on a call. I call them and ask them like, hey, you have been using our app. You are in particular section. Why you are not jumping to the other section? The customers are the best person who can act as an advocate for a brand because they are actually using your services and they would never feel guilty to tell you about the right thing. They will tell you in front, like, hey, I didn't like this in your app. Be open to their feedback. Listen to them very carefully and try to construct an approach what is coming up in their mind. Try to put a feature in front of that. Never go to the feature development or let's say what to develop before understanding the customer issue. So these are like 3 to 4 concepts which can help you ideate into your best product idea. And majorly it is like put your customer on the first priority before putting the revenue or any other stakes in front of that.
Got it. So Jatin, like my next question would be around this only. How would you validate things like that, right? And let's say user ने आपको एक feedback दिया, right? And you understand कि मुझे इसमें changes कर रहे हैं, but ये changes आगे वर्दी होंगी या नहीं होंगी, क्या आपको कैसे पता चलता है? Like how would you validate those things?
So it is also involved in like 2 stages. One is before the development and one is after the development. So I would go with first the after the development phase. So what we do in the industry is called as A/B testing. What is that? Is like we are having a customer cohort. We are having different types of customer cohorts. We try to split them into different basically the criteria. And what we used to do is put the feature out to some customers and don't put the feature out to some customers and observe how much have been the trend change. Like data is a friend that can help you out in any of your problems. Try to put a cohort, like divide the cohort into 2 equal, or let's say if you are putting bias cohorting, divide them into 30-70% and try to see like by performing a stunt, like if you roll out this feature, how many customers are adapting to it, how many of them are clicking on it, how many of them are actually converting into the orders, and try to see with by the numbers. But let's say if you are have not basically researched about like what to do, you are currently in the development phase and you are thinking out how will the customer be benefited. Try to do an analysis on that. Like first, this idea must not be unique to you. There can be a possibility that your competitors might have also thought. And that is why they have not prioritized it so far. Like they are also having a team of 50. We are also having a team of 50. There can be a case where your ideas are coinciding in terms of the user pain point. Yeah, like user pain points are same for both of them. So why competitors are not doing into the similar domain? Do they have already an existing tool into the similar domain? How do you like that solution that they have put up on solving that problem? First, try to analyze in terms of that. Second is you have your friends, right? You have your family members. Try to think of that you put something on a doc. Maybe you can create a exam or maybe a visual representation of how the feature is going to look like and ask the customer to use that. Say that, assume that this is your app, put them in front of like how it is going to work and ask them whether they would be keen to use that or is it going to be solving their problem statement or not. Those are the perfect advocates. Like until unless your friends, you are asking them, you are going to take them for a beer, they would say that, hey, this is not going to work, this is going to work. So ask them the questions like, will this work? Is it actually a problem statement or is it like I am thinking about the problem statement? I have observed this data. Do you think that of this data is correct? Next is every company have a product. They are having a lot of product managers. Everyone is coming from their different expertise. Try to put your thought over the group and ask like, hey, I'm trying to build out this product. I would love to know your point of views on that. There's a very famous quote that if you make 50 smart people sit inside a room, everyone will come with a different approach, right? And if your idea is able to fight with all those approach and the POVs, like the point of views that are coming inside the mind of these 50 people or let's say 30 people, then your idea is always going to be the part. And in the last, if you are not having answers from any of this, you have the customer numbers, call them and ask them. Every customer aim to use and help you out if you want the help. No one is going to provide the help in front of you. It's just that you need to work hard and get help from them. Call the customer and ask them directly, like, we are trying to think of this domain. Can you help me out understanding the pain point? What has been your case? Why you are facing this pain point? If we are trying to solve by this, will that work? Any suggestions? They would love to provide you with suggestions.
So my next question would be, Jatin, you mentioned very clearly about this, but like if we are going to ask things or like questions to our friends or maybe people who are around you, right? But the problem I would feel is that there would be some sort of biases developed. तो बहुत सारे biases भी होते हैं. So how would you tackle those biases?
Biases can be with 1 or 2%. Maybe your close friend would think something better for you. Try to ask out some relatives. Last night, last time, while I was catching up light, I did a very good experiment. I was sitting with a person next to me. He was reading a lot of newspapers, and I was going through some articles that was there in the newspapers. Actually, I was reading what kind of content he was reading, and I developed an insight that this person could be a helpful person for me because he belongs to the insurance industry.
Mhm.
I was having an insurance-based idea in my product. I asked him like, hey, I know that there is no work inside the slide right now, and I know that you are reading out a newspaper. Can you help me out with some quick viewpoints? He was from Gurgaon. He came with some good ideas. He was like, hey, this is going to work. This is not going to work. This is our insurance company work. How insurance works. His experience in insurance was so immense. He was like, I guess, director of sales at an insurance company. He came with those ideologies and pain points that have come out of 11 years of experience in this domain, which I was not having up. I'm only having a 3 years of experience in this industry. So that is the expertise that you ask out for and you find among the people. That person would be little biased only towards his industry, but whatever point of view he is going to share is going to be exact, that is going to work. So I would be asking out is like, break your cohorts. Try to pick one from your friend, from your family, one from your cousins, one from your neighbors, one from your random people. Hey, everyone is like, I know that some people are introvert, but everyone is there to help you out if you are asking out the help. So biasing would be eliminated, and like if you would get 4 biased customers, 5th one is always going to be the new.
Fair enough. So Jatin, next question would be around कि how does your day-to-day work look like, right? आप ऑफिस में पहुंचते तो आपका जो जर्नी होता है पूरे डे का वो किस तरीके से होता है? आई नो कि बहुत सारे स्टेक होल्डर्स के साथ आपके आइडियाज एक्सचेंज होते हैं, प्रोडक्ट टीम के साथ होते हैं, लाइक डिजाइन टीम के साथ होते हैं, इंजीनियरिंग टीम के साथ होते हैं, यू आर इन द मिक्स ऑफ एवरीथिंग. सो हाउ डू यू केटर दोस चैलेंजेस फर्स्ट? क्योंकि कई बार स्टेक होल्डर्स को अपना आइडिया पिच करना होता है, कई बार डिजाइन टीम को कन्विंस करना होता है टू गो विद द पर्टिकुलर डिजाइन, देन यू हैव टू कन्विंस द इंजीनियरिंग टीम की फीचर बहुत यूजफुल रहेगा, वायबल रहेगा, यूजेबल रहेगा. तो वो सारी चीजें आप किस तरीके से मैनेज करते हो? तो थोड़ा सा डिटेल में आप इसको एक्सप्लेन करें.
Okay, so first I would like to start with how does a typical day looks like at PM. So the first point is that it generally starts with like you would say saying the daily trends. Data should be the first primary friend that you need in a product journey, and if you are not working out with data, you would sometimes lag for sure. In my initial years, I was also not involved in data, and I faced a lot of challenges. But now, once I put data as my friend, it is like I talk to data daily. My first half an hour or 1 hour is about how does the performance was like and how was it like previous week and how was it in the overall month, and try to figure out where is actually the pain point coming from. Then basically my idea starts with discussing those pain points and issues that I have observed in the data with the business team. I try to ask them like whether we are facing any issues in the business, anything to prioritize, anything to deprioritize, anything where they need my help. And we had a lot of discussion around how does the business is going to work. Then we start with the engineering discussion. That is like our engineering stand-up where like engineers discuss what task they are going to pick today, what is going to be the priority, how we are picking up the next task. And then we start with our day, which is like the most common product manager opportunities. Like we try to think. First, we try to pick the implementation that are already going. Second is we spare out sometimes by blocking our calendars to think on the ideas. Put 1 hour in your day to at least think of new ideas, pain points, and try to note them down. And try to be like you are not attending meetings at that time, and try to spare that 1 hour daily for those tasks itself. I know that prioritization would eliminate that like most of the time, but try to keep that 1 hour to think of the solution. And then we generally have like those ideation calls, questions called with engineers, designers, where we put upon ideas. Now the second question is like, how do you not prioritize things in front of the engineers and the designers? Mm-hmm. So for that, we generally what we do is there is a very famous, not a framework, but it's going to be an approach. That is, bring the right people onto the call, ask them about the problem statement, then put out some numbers in front of them so that they are on the same page where you are currently, and try to then say that this is my overall solution and ask their POVs for first. Because there can be cases like 80 to 90% of the time you would be biased. You would be biased either by the number, either by your idea, either by your like solution, maybe either by some of your competitor references you have done. But if you're putting up those 4 people and trying to share your problem statement and backed by a number, they might be putting out some discussions which might be valuable over your idea. Try to listen out to them, and let's say you are very sure that it's going to work. Try to be backed with the data. Like this is going to be working because of X number amount of this that I have seen. If a user is interacting by your app, if he's buying out something, if he's doing something out, he's always going to perform actions. He's going to click, going to have the best offer. Try to build out a story out of that and put that story in front of them with some good number of data. Then I think that if you are saying out the right thing, no one will say no. So just get the right audience to the call, align with your ideas, put down the numbers and share a story where you think that is going to lead with. And second is like, there is no right answer or wrong answer in this domain. It is always going to be what worked for you the best. So try to put down many ideas as you can. Try to put out 2 to 3 ideas and think and discuss with them what is going to be worked with. You will surely going to come with a new idea that is going to help for you.
Understood. So you have mentioned about prioritization, right? You mentioned about how to prioritize the ideas, but let's say you have figured out all the ideas that you need to cater. How would you prioritize those features that you want to build? Features को किस तरीके से prioritize करते हो? What would be your approach to prioritize that?
My approach is going to be very simple. It is a very famous framework and the most used framework that worked for me. That is called as RISE framework. Basically having 4 important parameters, that is reach, impact, confidence, and efforts. So what do we mean by each of these terms is you have a lot of ideas, right? You know your lot of ideas, you know your customer database, you have the data with you. Try to put in a doc and try to put these 4 columns in front of that. Standardize a score, make a score like 1 to 100 for each, and try to score your ideas on the basis of these 4 ideas and never put everything on 100%. Try to think of the real numbers and think of minimum numbers you can provide and try to calculate the reach. You can use your data and find the audience segment that it is going to cater with. Try to calculate reach with that. Impact is either can be 0, 1, 2, 3, or let's say 4, 5, where you are sure about how much you are having, like you think that is going to have the impact over the customer. Then try to think the confidence, whether it is 0, 1, or 2. That means it's a strong confidence, or like no confidence. And then try to ask the engineering team of the efforts of the idea, like how much effort is going to take. Don't ask the engineering directly. Since you start working out and you have been discussing with a lot of engineers, you would get to know how much effort is going to take. Is it a 2-day effort, 3-day effort? There is always going to be a smart work than when you decide to work in the PM role. If something can be developed in a day and can have medium impact, is better than having 20 to 30 days of effort having a high impact. Because you can develop 10 features into that similar domain and one is going to work out. So try to mix that into this RISE framework, multiply, get a final score, sort out the best thing, and you will get your top ideas at the top. So RISE is one of the framework which can be helpful for you, which is helpful for me in the current case. And then is what is right for your business. In the end, RISE, everything is not helpful if your customers are not going to convert or is going to be benefited. Put your customers and their business goals at the first priority.
Now we have come up with the tasks or the features that we need to develop. Now what would be our next approach? Like हमारा next step क्या होगा? To maybe directly to build those features, start building those features, or we have to go through some sort of different things first and then we come to the approach कि ठीक है product को develop करना start करना चाहिए.
Once you come with your idea, try to first see what competitors are doing, why they have not developed, and if they have developed, what are the things that they have covered, what extra you would cover, where you are actually solving any problem. Try to back up by data, try to find how much data have been for individual screens you are clicking for. Then try to put up a design first, never go to the solution. First, just try to think a design and try to put out the solution of how this backend and UI is going to work and discuss with your designers as much as you can until you finalize the ideas. Then you can have the starting out discussions about how the TV is going to look like, how the things are going to interact, which systems are going to be there, what tech stack is going to be involved, and how the communication is going to work end to end. And then on the basis of that, once you are done with this calculation, once you have the discussion with your engineering manager, once you have the discussion with your designers, then come with the solution and start building out that. Try to build that out in multiple stages. Try to break down the product into multiple stages, like V1, V0, V2, V3. And try to roll out the customer and do a hit and trial of V0. If it is a success, move to V1. If it is a success, move to V2. And do progressive growth rather than a stagnant growth. Here is how the features develop.
So, Jatin, like आज के time पर, like there are many students who want to build a career as a PM. तो उनकी approach होनी क्या चाहिए? Like how would they able to say कि ठीक है मैं product management मुझे जाना चाहिए नहीं जाना चाहिए? What type of skills they should have?
Okay, so basically skills now have 2 types. First is the skill that you are actually going to need into the role. Second is the skill that is going to be added into the interview, because without interviews are not going to crack the role. So I would start with first the basic things which is going to help you out overall. You are having an access to the smartphones, right? You have the smartphones in your hand. Try to download as many apps you can have. Try to not order, but try to see why have been like there's something on your phone and why it have been designed in such a way. Try to think out why does the product manager have put down that thing and where is it actually coming on your app. Like you have your app, you have multiple scrolls in that. Which thing is coming at the top? Why is the second thing coming at just step lower? Why it have been developed? How it have been developed? How might be the case that backend and UI have worked? Try to think in that domain and try to put yourself into problem solving. Think of what is the problem statement, what was the solution, what was the problem statement, what was the solution, what new problem statements can be arised now. Try to connect with a lot of people on LinkedIn. You have you can connect with me, you can connect with a lot of people. Try to connect with them. Ask them that, hey, I thought that this can be an idea problem statement. Have a discussion with them, and you are surely going to learn a lot about the solving aspect, like what is actually a problem statement and why this is not a problem statement. It is very important to know at that time, like, yes, problem statement is not a problem statement if someone is having a point which is variable. Okay. So try to put out the solution and try to give a lot of apps and products. You have all the products in your hand. Now comes into the technical part. So you must be very comfortable with the data. You should have a wide knowledge of, let's say, an SQL or Excel. If you have the knowledge, both you would be benefited or not. Try to think of like data representation too. Maybe Tableau can have your initial learning. Maybe the company is not going to use Tableau too, but you would know how to break down the data and how to slice the data into the right user cohort. Then try to think of is like your interview aspect. Most of the companies in the interviews ask for about guesstimates, like how many number of planes are actually flying in Delhi right now, how many work are sold in India. And this is going to be helpful in your industry when you are, let's say, calculating a feature. When you are trying to calculate the audience segment for your feature, like how much audience is going to be benefited by this, which is like the reach which I told in the RISE framework. So try to build out a very strong concept on your guesstimates and then go for some case studies. There are like huge number of case studies that have been present. I generally practice from mypminterviews.com, which is like having a huge amount of guesstimates, case studies accumulated at one point. I also published a YouTube video. You will have a lot of questions in that video as well. Try to go through that question and try to solve them. That video also has some framework to how to solve it. So be very thorough with the case studies. Next is like once you are done with all of this now, you should be having like your approach to be on tackling on the real products. Try to build out case studies out of them and try to have a discussion with some industry leaders. And maybe there can be an out that you do not need to have an interview and your ideas would be selected finally and you would get an interview chance directly as well. So basically, an exploration of these four would help you to crack a good PM interview.
Understood. And how much, a fresher would expect a salary from the industry standard point of view? As a fresher, मैं जा रहा हूँ, तो मैं कितनी salary expect कर सकता हूँ इसमें?
Okay, so the PM role can be varying. Like it is having, once you join, you generally joins at a package of, I am going to talk in terms of the base numbers, which is like actually you get in your hand. So a starting product person would have a salary of approximately 15 lakh per annum, maybe ranging from company can range from 12 to 15 or maximum to 17 as well. And 1 to 2 years of experience generally revolves around 22 to 24, let's say 20 to 24 range. And once you have an experience of 3 years and 3 to 4 years, you are generally in range of 30 to 35 lakh at the base in India. So this is how the overall salary looks like for our product managers.
Mm-hmm. And you have already suggested few resources as well, right? Like for the interview practice, we can go to mypminterviews.com, right? You also have your own channel where students can come and watch videos to learn about product management.
Yeah, so basically while I was preparing for some interviews in between, I tried to capture those videos so that I can remember those points in my future. So I created a channel called as PM Adda, which is having a lot of questions about like how to solve the next case study. I have not put videos after that because it was not having some right audience and also I was not having much time. But if let's say the people are going to observe that, I would love to post more videos around the content. But it is having 3 major problems that I have solved this, like the case studies, how to tackle a good product, what are the general questions that have been asked, and how is the product management industry overall? What is the fresher salary? What companies majorly hire for? Which companies are hiring directly after engineering colleges and not MBA? That is also one of the type questions. Like a lot of people are jumping from engineering directly to an MBA, like to the product management and not MBA. Like I am one of them. So I believe that everyone can enter directly. So I tell the company name which have been in that case that you can go directly after an engineering college. So this is the overall video that I have uploaded right now on those channels.
And the next question would be around the, let's say, आप जब features बना लेते हो, right? We have already done that. कि हमने features सब कर लिया है. Now how would you product roadmap को आप किस तरीके से सोचते हो उसके बारे में कि product roadmap कैसे बनाना चाहिए मुझे, या इन फीचर्स को मुझे प्रोडक्ट बैकलॉग में डालना चाहिए, उसमें उनका ऑर्डर ये होना चाहिए, एंड देन यू कम टू द पॉइंट कि ठीक है आप इंजीनियरिंग टीम और डिजाइन टीम इस पे काम करना स्टार्ट करेंगे.
Okay, so yeah, basically you should go with like what your business have been or like what the customer is actually demanding for as part of your roadmap. You go through your data daily, have some insights like, let's say retention is one of the major cohorts that you want to take. So first is like whenever you are developing some ideologies or like some problem statement, try to make them out. This was my with my recent manager, which who have made me learn that this is a very important framework, is that you split out your ideas into themes and sub themes. Like let's say if it's going to solve new user acquisition, it is going to solve retention, it is going to solve awareness, or if it let's say going to solve XYZ of the thing. What is the sub theme out of that? How it is going to develop? Is it going to be a gaming based model? Is it going to be a banner that you are going to launch? Is it going to be like customer interaction initiative? Is it going to be like user engagement? What is the key area that you are going to evolve? And try to break the ideas into that. Now observe the market and try to think of like what happened in the case. Are you getting right chronic customers? Are you getting retention based customers? Are the customers engaging with your app? And since you have a data with you, try to put a rank in front of them. Like whether retention is one of the first priority right now for you and engagement is a priority or new user acquisition is a priority, try to use those themes and the data to stack your ranking of like what is going to be the first priority that you have to roll out. And then second is like how much impact it is going to have. What is like actually a new thing where you are going to have new customers acquired. If you are going to have new customers acquired, you are going to have maximum order. Try to put those things on first and try to think of a roadmap as a longer term. Think of breaking your product into multiple stages. V0 is going to be in this cycle. V1 is going to be in the next cycle. Try to think on that overall approach. You would come with a perfect roadmap for the next year.
Great insight. Okay. And what tools one should learn before entering into product management? Like there would be some sort of tools you mentioned about just like Tableau or maybe Power BI, right? Where we could, understand the data much well. So are there any more tools that we need to cater or we need to understand before entering into these product management?
Yeah. So basically, one of the tools which I think you should learn in the startup itself is the Figma. Either learn Figma or FigJam. Basically, these are designing tools where you can design your ideas. It is a very easy to use UI. You just need to capture some screenshot of your current app, replace something. You need to add an object. It is like a drawing canvas, but once you start using that tool, you would be better able to illustrate what you have been thinking in your mind by visual representation. Second is FigJams or Figmas are going to be supported by the data. So try to be very comfortable with Excel or SQL, where you can get a huge amount of data and you can play out of that. Third is try to be very comfortable with like, I would not say system design, but it's like high level overview of how the structure is going to look like, how it's going to the backend work, how it's going to be the UI going to work, how is going to be the system interacting with each other. Try to think of that as well and try to learn system design if possible. Not into the course computer-based concept, but a high level, let's say how to design on WhatsApp. There are like huge amount of videos. I guess Gaurav Sen was the person who I watched on YouTube. He never solved the system design question directly by the technical aspect, like how the load balancer is going to look like, how the overall technical part. He generally solved it out, what is actually the problem statement and how to break down that problem statement into multiple hierarchies and how to solve them. That is the approach that you need to develop slowly and gradually. So that is where another important tool is that you should know how to put that into an object framework. Like you have basically a flow diagram that you need to create. So you should know how to create flow diagrams as well. It can be on your either tool. It can be on your deck, PPTs, or like your drawing, image, or a pen paper base, but try to think of how to develop that. So if you know about these three things, you are good.
My next question would be around the, let's say हमने features decide कर लिया, हमने roadmap decide कर लिया कि product backlog decide कर लिया, कौन से features बनेंगे. But now जब हम वो features develop कर रहे होते हैं, we understand कि customers के feedback आते हैं, right? उसके according हमें features को iterate भी करना होता है, देखना होता है कि whether these features are useful or not. तो उसके लिए पीछे हमारी strategy क्या होती है, हमारी approach क्या होती है?
So after the customer feedback, like the customer feedback might come by a customer escalation mail or might have been on the call, or let's say a user cohort data might have seen an issue. We judge those customers and try to see what cohort belong to. Is it like over repetitive customer, new customers, or like what kind of customers do they actually belong to? And then we come with some different hypotheses and we come with like where have been the actual like the breakdown. We go with the exact customer journey and try to split out where have been the root cause and try to find out the number of clicks, what other users have observed. And since it has happened the feedback of one customer, so it might be the feedback of others as well. So we go through that data and see how much click rate and how much basically the add to cart have been through that particular screen or widget. And then we try to think that how it can be designed and how it can be made better, or is it like we actually need to drop because the feature have not seen the same success that we imagined for. And then we try to ask the customer their feedback, right? Feedback like why has been the case and what are their suggestions, how it can be improved. And then come with a proper solution because you can never imagine the exact problem statement end to end. It is like that you would be able to hit 60 to 70% of it and we come with a solution post that.
And how would you differentiate your product in the competitive market? Let's say you have analyzed all those things, features and all, but how would you differentiate that कि जो हमारे competitors हैं उनसे हमारा product different है, उनकी value proposition different? How would you define that?
So basically, it is not about how you are differentiating from the competitors. Maybe you are shifting out the same feature, but it is like how you have been rolling out is like if I and you being given a task, we are two different people, we would come with some different solutions. So the solution can be different. It is much more like how much accurately I have been able to get into that particular problem statement. So similar into the product domain itself. You go via the competitors, you go via their problem statement and not the solution, and you come with a solution which you think that can be a bingo, and that's how you differentiate from your competitors. It's never that you analyze the problem statement from them and take the solution from them. Try to get the problem statement out of them and try to build out your own solution. You can take the solution that they have made, but never develop the similar solution, all because there is scope of improvement every time. If let's say they would have developed something better, why the customer should not go on them? It's you design the product accordingly so that you get into more finer development.
Understood. And how would you measure the success of a product? Like what are the KPIs you will look into the ये सारी चीजें अगर हैं तो I would think कि my product is successful.
Okay, so there is no success or failure in the product first. So basically, every feature have a key indicator which will that whether the feature has been success or not. It totally depends on what is the overall theme. If let's say it is having a new user acquisition that you want to acquire new users and you are getting out of it, you are a success. Either those customers are not ordering, that is not a. But the second is, let's say if you want to have a click rate on that and you want to have more customers observe that and you are able to get the audience observing that, that is a success rate. So you design a success metric which is going to be acting as the top of the funnel, and then you design some sub metrics which is going to support that statement. You try to evaluate those on the numbers of that, and based on the overall assumption, like how happy in the overall success that you have defined for your product, particular product, whether that has seen an upsurge or not. So that is defined as the product success.
Understood. Any example would you like to give with this? कि आप एक मतलब कोई भी e-commerce के थ्रू बता सकते हैं, आप किसी भी एक एप्लीकेशन के थ्रू, तो आप किसी भी एक फीचर को कंसीडर करके इसके अकॉर्डिंग बता दो आप किस तरीके से इसकी product success को आप measure करो.
So recently, Zomato have launched a new capability where they are showing the actual numbers of orders when you go at the starting of the app. It tells you about how many orders numbers have placed, and it is like some statement have been proposed where people are saying that this is not a product thinking, it is like a bureaucrat-based thinking and all those things. I would love to share my POVs on that. What Zomato have been trying is different from different mindsets. For my mindset and for yours, your opinion would be just different. So let's say Zomato have come with like how many orders have been there on the app. So what they're actually trying to build is like how much customers have started developing an interest out of it. They have like the confidence that they are not alone who are ordering on the platform. It is like they are backed up by 10,000 more customers who are trusting them, and we should also trust them. So the major key success indicator for this feature is more numbers of users are actually staying on your app and not bouncing. So bouncing is a term which we define in the product industry. Like user come over the app, they see everything, but they never perform an action and skips out the app, because they are not having the right confidence on you. Like I would say, if I am not having confidence on you, I would not interact with you as well. So similar is to your product as well. You need to develop that confidence, and that user perception, that user is coming and clicking on your app and discovering something is going to be the success metric for your feature, that you have reduced the bounce rate significantly higher. So that is where the product thinking comes upon. Like what was the goal, what you want to achieve, and how you can measure it into some impactful numbers.
Great insight, Jatik. And next question would be around how AI is changing the product management landscape. Like AI के आने से बहुत सारे changes हुए हैं, right? And maybe product research के time पर, user research के time पर, we would use much more tools like ChatGPT or Gemini. आगे आने वाले 10 year या 15 year में किस तरह के changes आप देख सकते हो in the product management field?
Okay, so AI surely have benefited a lot to the product management industry. It is not like that. It is something seen. We have seen a decline in product management. If you would go and then there are a huge number of profiles that have been rise due to after the AI based addition. What I think that AI benefited us is in terms of the competitor research or the market research. Currently, what we used to do is we evaluate our own company numbers. We go over the Google and try to see what is the estimated total addressable market for the same, which we call as TAM. So now ChatGPT, once you ask them, it surely helps you out with some being data backed as well, and it can basically crawl hundred of articles which you need to do like manually in the initial time. Second is there is a very good ChatGPT pilot which I have seen called as Galileo AI, which can you can transcribe what you have been looking for, and it can develop a design for you. So if a person is not having design knowledge or Figma knowledge, he can use that to ideate his overall idea into some feature. Maybe it was not having changed much that it is controlling in the form of your app-based design, but it can tell the overall picture of how does this look like. But what I've been thinking that it will not be changing some human perception or mindset because ChatGPT has been trained on our data. Okay. It will never come out of the solution that have been from the customer inside. It is not engaging with the real life users, understanding their problems. And that is where a person, like if I would say a bot to understand you and your pain points, it will never be able to understand that.
Absolutely.
Whereas if in terms of ChatGPT, it would be able to learn from the data. It would be able to code someday. It would be able to maybe develop some logic. But I would always say that it will never be able to do 100% coding because in the end, you need to develop some logic behind that. It can be that you can be tech-backed. It can be that you can learn faster. It can be you can do a lot of competitive research. You can create a lot of designs. But in the end, when it comes to about the idea and the ideation, a person is going to be needed for sure. And that is where I think that AI would be helping out the product managers there in the market, but never going to affect the overall job hierarchy or how it is going to work. Like classical typical example is like there have been your app data, right? A lot of people are visiting in your app in particular section and going into the different section. ChatGPT, you can come and tell that the data have dropped in that particular stage. But what is the hypothesis out of that? Why is the customer dropping? Why have been the case? It would not be able to deep dive into the second base insight. That is, go into that particular widget and see how many people have actually clicked it. You need to provide that data. So that is where the human thinking and the ChatGPT would be a totally distinct. And also ChatGPT has some predefined solution. ChatGPT is based on that model, right? It is trained on the data. But if let's say there is no data itself, ChatGPT is nothing in that terms. So it is like human mind which can think of the possible solutions and the how to understand the pain point from different POVs.
And this
Human mindset have emotions between as well.
So considering today's landscape, maybe how important it is for the people who are entering into the product management field, right? How important for them is to develop the technical knowledge or technical aspects of the product management.
Okay, so the technical knowledge is always like it is going to be like you're going to be always benefited by that because in the end you develop some solution and in the end that cannot be developed. It's something where your all efforts can go into vain. So if you have a basic technology like how does the current system work, how it is going to be interacted, that is going to be the sure thing that you need inside a company. You should know about APIs, you should know about webhooks, how data structures work, how data crawlers work, how to fetch, like what you can do and what you cannot do in the current industry, and you would be able to, that much knowledge would be sufficient. But you should, if you have a complete in-depth knowledge, you're always going to be benefited by that. I am also a tech person who changed into PM and I've not benefited with that.
Great insight with it. So Jatin, like I have asked almost all the questions that was in my mind, right? Any last advice would you want to share with the people who want to enter into this product management?
So the last advice I would like to give is that there are huge amount of challenges, but what makes you distinguish as a good PM is the hustle attitude. Never drop the hustle that is there in your mind. If it is like grabbing your next role, it is even like in your company, if you are, let's say, there would be a cases that you would be seeing a huge amount of failure. Nothing is going to work. Try to think that you could put more hustle to that. If one thing is going to work for sure. So never stop that hustling attitude and try to practice again and again till you become a master of that.
Great.
So you should never skip hustle between the journey.
Great insight. Great insight.